Football is no better than this one. Warm sunshine, no wind. The Toronto Argonauts and the Edmonton Eskimos for the second time in as many weeks. The Eskimos winning by 17 points last week. The Argos promise a better performance today, and in the fourth quarter they were beaten last week. Otherwise, though, Tom, it was an even game, as the score of 21 all after three quarters indicated.
I thought both teams played pretty well. The Argos certainly didn't have difficulty moving the football, but they didn't have any finish, and I think it cost them the game, although the Eskimos came on very strongly in the second half in Edmonton last week.
As Hank Olisic gets set to kick off, we tell you that Henry Williams and Stephen Jones are deep for the Edmonton Eskimos. The kick to Jones' side may go out of bounds. Indeed it does, and that'll be a penalty right off the bat against the Argos.
Both these teams did a pretty good job last week, I thought, Dave, in special teams, and Bob Obilovich alluded to that fact at the top of our show. Some very dangerous receivers for both teams. Of course, he's king of the castle in that department. Pernell Moore has really razzle-dazzled people back here this year. Both very dangerous. If they get a block, they're capable of going all the way at any time.
Illegal kickoff. Toronto number 8.
There you see that Joe Faragalli has had some problems during his career with the Argonauts, and obviously Bob Obilovich would say the same about the Eskimos. It's been a good rivalry, culminating in last year's Grey Cup, perhaps more than any other game that'll be remembered. And maybe they'll be back in the '88 Grey Cup at Ottawa. Who knows? Certainly two of the top contenders are on this field today. A better kickoff straight down the middle to Jones. Gizmo leads him to the 30-yard line. The Argonauts converge very quickly. Willie Pless takes the first hit of the game and drops Jones at the 33.
That's always a good sign, how that special teams gets down under on the opening kickoff. Good hustle by the Argos, particularly Willie, who's an all-star linebacker, down and made the tackle on Stephen Jones. And Edmonton has pretty good field position, however, to start this opening series.
Tracy Ham has had some problems getting underway. The first few possessions in his last few games have not gone well. Obviously, though, he has a tendency to get better as the game goes on. Let's see how he starts this one. Long pass for a few yards, unless Williams can bust loose. He gets to the 42-yard line. Here's the proof of the weather. It is as nice as it could possibly be in late September.
Not everybody's at the ballpark today. There's a few out there in the water.
They got 8 to the Eskimos in their first pass of the game. 2nd and 2 from their 42. And the Eskimos move the yardsticks the first time they touch the ball. Tony Spallettini with a 3-yard gain to the 45. The Eskimos have one of their injured running backs in action again today, and that's Chris Johnstone, leaving Blake Marshall on the injured list. Spallettini and Chris Skinner start behind Tracy Ham. Gizmo Williams gets another start at wide receiver, though Stephen Jones is available, and the offensive line intact for Edmonton.
Well, they're just trying to feel out each other right now. Very basic plays, straight fullback right up the middle, power blocking by the offensive line. Eskimos pick up a short gain of 3 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 7.
Chris Skinner in a big play to spark the Eskimos in the first half of last week's game. An impromptu showed Tracy Ham at his scrambling best. Here's Ham in the pocket, not for long. Tracy Ham is a bit short of the first down. He had to get to midfield, and he's going to be a full yard short. Unless the Eskimos get a good spot. They don't. It's going to be 3rd and 1.
Well, this is going to be the #1 objective of the Argo defense, is to contain Tracy Ham. If he's going to run, you prefer that he would run up the middle because you have more people there and the pursuit has a better chance of putting a tackle on him. He did pick up almost the necessary yardage, but he's short. The Eskimos aren't going to gamble here. They're a yard short, and they're going to kick it away.
Jerry Cork had been leading the league in punting, has seen his average dip below 45 yards. Pernell Moore, Mr. Excitement on the returns for the Argos, be that he couldn't go farther. So the Eskimos get a first down, but can't do more than that the first time they have the ball. Eskimos trying to figure out what's going wrong on offense. Those of you who watched last week's game might recognize this first quarter. Neither team having success moving the ball consistently. The Argos will try for that now. Fennerty right side. He's cutting underneath the block and getting just past the 40-yard line. A short gain of maybe 3 yards.
It's going to be difficult, I think, for the Argos to go wide on the Eskimos. Edmonton has that great ability to string the blockers out, wait for the pursuit to get there, and eventually converge on the ball carrier, and they did a good job on that.
Receiving strength to Gilbert Renfro's left, with both Darryl Smith and Jeff Boyd out that way to the bottom of your screen. Renfro again looks straight down the middle, man wide open, and he just overthrew Nastasiuk, who was all by himself.
And he really didn't have to gun it the way he did, and that's what you call a quarterback having the touch or not having it. All he had to do was just lay it up there, particularly for a guy like Nastasiuk, who doesn't see a lot of game time as an offensive pass receiver. Starting his first game for the Argos at slot back, and he was a good 15 yards behind any Edmonton defender. That would have been a can of corn had he caught the football, but it was overthrown, and Renfro would like to have that one back.
Gizmo Williams is back by himself for Hank Olisik's second punt of the game. Not nearly as good as the first. The bounce goes to Williams on 2 bounces. Trying to get outside, cannot do it. Good work by Jake Vaughn of the Argonauts to keep Gizmo Williams contained and put him down at the 15-yard line.
The Argos came with very good pressure on Tracy Ham, but boy, does this guy have poise. He just kept backing up, backing up. Initially, he was looking downfield to his wideouts, but then spotted Skinner over the middle and delivered a perfect pass. Edmonton picks up 9 yards on the play. Both teams a little tight here in the early going, Dave. I think one of these teams make a big play, and I think it'll open things up for both teams.
Nothing big about the Eskimos' thoughts on this play. Tracy Ham fights his way for a yard and a first down.
Well, the Argos thought they had that big play too on their last offensive series, and they did. Paul Nastasiuk had somehow gotten behind the Edmonton secondary, was wide open, only to have his quarterback overthrow him just by inches.
Well, the trouble with Tracy, if you're the opponent, is that he can go from directing the offense like this to manufacturing a touchdown in 1 or 2 plays with either a long pass or one of his long runs. Explosive is the word for Tracy Ham. Gizmo Williams in the air, and now talk about explosive. Gizmo is going to outrace the Argos to the end zone. He made a fine catch, making sure he had the ball, and what he did after that was even better.
He is Mr. Excitement in the Canadian Football League. All 5'6" of them. Henry the Gizmo Williams, and what a great catch he made on the curl pattern. But Tracy Ham just drilled it in there. He has a powerful arm. Everybody talks about his scrambling ability. I've just been amazed on how well he throws the football. And once the Gizmo gets a step, forget about it. He has great speed, and it was just a foot race all the way to the end zone.
He went 85 yards. They started from their 25, and Gizmo Williams on a pass that was going to pick up 15 yards turned it into a long touchdown, and I guess we spoke at the right time about a big play to get this game started.
Well, I think that's what this game needs too, and I think both of these teams now relax a lot more and execute better.
Corrick for the convert, and the Eskimos have the lead thanks to Henry Gizmo Williams. It is 7-0 for the visitors. Joe Farragalli loves it.
Matthew McKinnon, that's from Dwayne.
Last week was his first touchdown pass, and now he's got another one, and this is the style that Gizmo Williams likes, the long run and the great speed.
85-yard touchdown pass from Ham. That's the longest touchdown pass this season for the Edmonton Eskimos, and the longest pass by Tracy Ham, but Gizmo did all the work.
Well, Pernell Moore, who fancies himself as Gizmo Williams' successor as the top punt returner in the CFL. To hear about Earl Winfield and James Jefferson. Gets it back to the 50-yard line, and let's have another look.
Well, watch the Gizmo here as he runs the curl pattern, goes high in the air to make the catch. The tackle is missed, and now Gizmo starts to sprint down the sideline. Take a quick look at the Argo bench. It looks like one of their coaches tries to come on the field right there to almost make the tackle. And Williams, when he got to the sideline, he commented to the coaching staff of the Eskimos. He said, hey, one of their coaches almost came off the bench to make the tackle. That really would have been something.
Moore has the ball again and is underway with good room and good yardage for an Argo first down. Pernell Moore, the only actual rookie in this Argo offense, has really impressed his coaches and some people around the league.
Here's one of the real great middle linebackers in the game, Danny Bass. As you see, he still has tremendous quickness. He gets all the way over to the sideline to make the tackle on Moore. Eskimo coaches tell me Danny Bass is having his best season ever as a pro, and he's had a lot of good ones over the years.
Well, the Argonauts answer the Gizmo Williams touchdown. They go the other way with Jeff Boyd, and Boyd is in the clear, and there's no catching him.
Well, ask and you shall receive. What we thought is this game needed a big play. The Eskimos provided it on their last offensive series with a touchdown pass to the Gizmo, and the Argos show that they're a very competitive football team as well as they come right back. Renfro hooking up with his speedster, Jeff Boyd. He was able to step out of a tackle, and then it was just a foot race for Boyd, one of the fastest guys in the league, and he was gone. We've got ourselves a pretty good football game now. Well,
and applauding the two touchdown plays, we should probably say that the tackling hasn't been as aggressive as it might have been on both sides. The Eskimos waved at Boyd, and of course Gizmo Williams got away from three Argos just after he caught his pass. And if you miss him then, you don't see him afterwards.
Jeff Boyd, of course, made big plays for years for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Had a little salary problem with the price cuts and so on. Was dealt here to the Toronto Argonauts before the start of the season. This is just a very simple hitch screen, but he was able to break the seam there. Is some shabby tackling as you described, Dave. And once you get guys like the Gizmo and Jeff Boyd with their tremendous speed and they get a step on the defensive back, it's pretty tough to catch them.
Boyd needed a big play to win back some of his reputation, which was large when he left Winnipeg, and he really hasn't lived up to it game by game here in Toronto. But Jeff Boyd obviously has the potential to do what he just did, and the Argonauts have just used that to tie this game. Hank Olesic can kick off longer than anybody else in this league, and he has just put the Eskimos back to their 5. And where Stephen Jones comes up to the 32. I don't know what Jones is thinking watching Gizmo Williams catch these touchdown passes week after week, but it's got to be going through his mind that maybe the Gizmo's there to stay.
What a luxury, though, that Joe Farragelli has when your big play guy Stephen Jones, who has done that for the last 2 or 3 years for the Eskimos, comes up with an injury, and you put another guy out there who's maybe faster, not as big, but certainly is capable.
Argos jump and bring a flag as Skinner carries for the Eskimos. Well, the Eskimos will doubtless accept the penalty and go first down and 5. Or will they?
Offside, number 68. First down repeated.
Yes, they will.
You can see that the Argos are clearly offside. At the top of your screen, you'll notice that the right defensive end jumped a little bit. Kulka, and they'll take the yardage rather than the penalty.
First and 5. Sandusky was bobbling the ball, and Terry Noble is not having problems yet at that left corner for the Argonauts. He has an interception, and he just makes an incompletion there.
Well, he sees he has a chance now to impress the coaching staff of the Argos, and all good football players, when you're on the reserve list, you're just hoping to get into a football game, and right now Noble looks like he's ready. He put a big hit on Sandusky.
Tough try for Sandusky. The ball was not thrown well by Ham. He had to reach back for it. Second and 5. Tracy Ham is rushed, and has no receiver, and he's not going anywhere himself on this play either. Good pursuit by the Argonauts. They had him figured out the first time. And when he does get underway, close him off again, and they did that.
Well, they did it very well, and the reason that they were able to contain Ham this time, the linebackers didn't run out of there. Willie Pless and Bruce Holmes just played it perfectly as they just waited to see what Ham was going to do. Was he going to deliver the football? Then they turn and they react and go after the tackle, but they wait to see what he does, and they were there to make the stop. That was very good defense by the Argos.
Ham wanted to throw, but he had nobody over on that side of the field. He couldn't see any receiver. Had to take his loss and force the third down punt by Corrick. This is Moore. Flag down as Pernell Moore gets to the 45.
Well, the Argos had set up the return to Moore's left to the wide side of the field, and that's where he dearly would have liked to have run, but the Eskimos did a good job of containing the outside, and they turned him back. But there's a holding call against the Argos, and that will bring it back even further.
Toronto at the 29-yard line. Willie Pless has been evident with his great play today, both on special teams and from his linebacker position on defense. 50% completion percentage for Renfro so far. Fennerty is going to get his first good gain in about 3 weeks.
Well, Fennerty has now surpassed his totals for all of last year when he was the CFL's Rookie of the Year. Fennerty has that uncanny ability to run to daylight, and he sees the block, he runs to the seam, and you know, he makes tacklers miss better than anybody in the league, Dave. There isn't a coach in the CFL that wouldn't like to have Gil Fennerty in their backfield.
He didn't have any tacklers to worry about on that play as the Argos opened room for him, and he went out there making the first down. Renfro for Boyd, and that pass is incomplete. Not well thrown by Renfro. The fans and on the Argo side are wondering what about interference against Steve Benjamin.
Well, it's a pretty close call, but you know that defensive back has every right to the football, just like the offensive receiver. I thought Benjamin had very, very good position on Boyd that time. Boyd had an opportunity, though. He was on the inside. It was a catchable ball. It would have been a difficult catch, but one that you expect a seasoned veteran like Boyd to make.
Second down, Argos from their 44. Renfro picks out Fennerty, and he steps out of bounds close to a first down at the 54.
Well, this is another week for Gil the Thrill Fennerty. He was shut down very, very well last week, but he's starting to get into the offense now. Again, just flaring out of the backfield, wide open in the left flat. Then he starts the field. He carries that football like a loaf of bread, but he doesn't fumble very often.
They will measure for a first down. The Argos perhaps get the benefit of a good spot. It seemed that Fennerty went out easily before he hit the 54-yard line. The nose of the ball is touching the 54, and they have less than a yard to go. And they will go for it.
You know, years ago, this was a situation, I saw him do it for years. Ronnie Lancaster, who holds just about every all-time individual quarterback record in the Canadian Football League. He used to have Big George Reed at fullback, and every now and then on a situation like this on third down, everybody jammed in there with the short yardage team. He just put that ball on his hip, release a guy right off the line of scrimmage, and they'd get an easy score. But that's what you call gambling, and I don't think the Argos are going to do that this early in the football game. I wish we'd score.
It is a legitimate gamble on 3rd and 1. You see it often on 2nd and 1. The Argos want the first down and not the touchdown on that play, and Renfro diving to midfield.
This is a big football game for both football teams. They picked up the first down. Toronto, though, has had rough sledding of late. They've lost 3 straight football games. They haven't tasted victory for almost 3 weeks, and they're playing the best football team in the country, the Edmonton Eskimos, who have the best record as well with 8 wins and only 3 losses.
First down, Toronto from center field. Again, Fennerty, who got a first down the last time they ran this play, won't get it this time. The Eskimos string him out, and Stuart Hill is one of those responsible for making the good defensive play.
Well, it looks like the Argos are determined to go wide on the Eskimos. I think it's going to be tough to do, although they've had a little success. Fennerty on the previous sweep made yardage. But again, the Eskimos with tremendous quickness on their defense, particularly their linebackers, and Stuart Hill has just great speed. He came from all the way from the strong side across the field to make the stop.
So we'll call it a gain of a yard by Fennerty. 2nd and 9. Renfro was getting lots of time to throw the ball. This one's up for grabs. It is incomplete as Danny Taylor, the newcomer in the secondary, was tested by the Argonauts, came up big with good coverage, and the score remains tied at 7 with the Argos getting set to punt. We start the second quarter with the score tied. Gizmo Williams went 85 yards for the Edmonton touchdown on a pass from Tracy Ham, and Jeff Boyd answered for the Argos. 46 yards was Boyd's run, almost all of it Jeff Boyd, as the pass was thrown along the line of scrimmage. From midfield, the Argos punt. Olesic won't get it in the end zone or close to it. Eskimos wondering about no yards. There is no flag. An alert play by Stanley Blair to reach back for that ball and try to trap the Argos there. They were watching for Gizmo Williams, of course. Edmonton ball at the 18, at the 23-yard line, rather.
Stanley Blair is, I think, the best defensive back that the Eskimos have. He plays that left corner, which is difficult. He was last year's Western Division Rookie of the Year, a fine football player, and that was an alert play. When that ball starts to bounce back, you want one of your players to get on it very quickly before the Argos recover it.
Ham, a little swing pass to Skinner, not much room for him. He gets what is there. They will rule him out at about the 28.
Eskimos have always run this play better than anybody else, I think, in the CFL. The quarterback straight drop back and very quick release. Skinner just flaring out of the backfield, and once he get it, then he head up field and try to get as much yardage as he can. That play is not designed to be a game breaker, but it's almost like a long handoff. It's a good running play.
Skinner got 5. 2nd down from the Edmonton 28. Again, it's Chris Skinner near the first down. Looks like he's got it.
Good job of blocking Chris Johnstone, who is back in the lineup. He's been out of an injury, but watch Johnstone, the lead fullback right there, as he just makes a nice block, turns Moen to the outside, and that was the hole that Skinner needed to get up the field. Good execution.
And a good hit by Willie Pless at the end of the play. They will measure for the Edmonton first down, and it's very close. Not quite.
Joe Farrick, one of the real happy-go-lucky head football coaches in the CFL. He believes that players should approach this game enthusiastically and have a lot of fun. He's a real peppery guy himself and an outstanding football coach.
Well, most coaches would make this gamble. 3rd down and just an inch or two for the Eskimos, even though the ball is at their 33-yard line. Farragalli confident that a snap to Ham and Tracy's movement forward can give them the first down. As long as they make that snap, there's just about no way they can't make the first down. So the Eskimos retain possession of the ball. We have almost 14 minutes to go in the first half with a 7-7 tie between the Argonauts and the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, he didn't get a whole lot. A tremendous surge by the Argo defense. You'd think that they have to line up a yard off the ball, that it would be pretty easy for the quarterback to pick up at the yard or a yard. But they do pick up the first down. 7-7, 2 big long touchdown passes are the scoring of this game. 85 yards to the Gizmo and 46 yards to Jeff Boyd.
Tracy Ham surveys the Argo defense, has Sandusky wide to his right, Gizmo to the left. Ham is rocked by Rodney Harding. He thought he could get away and have another look downfield, but Harding put Tracy Ham in his grasp and threw him to the ground.
Well, Rodney Harding and Don Baldwin, the new player, defensive end for the Argos, both came through as they came down the right side of the Edmonton offensive line. Harding, a big, tough guy. We told you he has that ability to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback up the middle. For Harding, that's his 6th quarterback sack this season. 7 now.
Eskimos have an injured player, which holds up this second down play. The Eskimos having to treat Dave Richardson. Greg Vavra, who had his name in the scoring summary last week, throwing the touchdown pass to Brett Williams off the fake field goal. And backing up for the Argos today, Danny Barrett. The Toronto Argonauts have 3 quarterbacks. John Conjemi, the one not dressed today.
Well, Bilovich told me yesterday that Barrett will see some action if the Edmonton defense starts to get to Renfro, as they did last week, particularly in the 4th quarter. Barrett, of course, a better runner, he's much quicker and ability to make the big play, much like Tracy Ham, and so Danny Barrett is dressed in place of Conjemi just for that reason.
Well, he can keep the helmet off for now because the Eskimos have not been getting to Gilbert Renfro. They've been trying to do that with 4 rushers from the line, and it hasn't been working. Renfro has had good time to pick out his receivers, unlike Tracy Ham lately, as Rodney Harding closed down on him. Second and long as Ham fires over the middle, and Williams couldn't get to it. The Argos have an intercepted pass, or no, they say the ball is on the ground.
I'd like to take a look at this one. It's a close call, although Delorier is not arguing, and the official was in good position to make the call. Delorier, the safety, who's coming back from a very serious knee injury and playing some great football for Toronto, read the eyes of the quarterback. He was right there. Gizmo Williams on the break-in, you could see that it hit the ground. It was not an interception. The fans still booing, but we could clearly see that ball had hit the ground before Delorier made the interception.
Well, he was smart to get up and run with it. You don't wait for the call. You try to influence the call if you can. Corrick waits and waits and waits, and he's going to run with the football. Jerry Corrick is going to make the first. And I think he did that on his own. There is little doubt that the Eskimos weren't going to gamble third and that much yardage, but Corrick saw that the Argos had all backed off and felt confident he was going to run for it.
And that is a real heads-up play by Corrick, the Edmonton punter. The rush wasn't there. Louis Pasagli for years used to do this with the BC Lions. He'll wait, sees nobody's coming. Finally, hey, I got a chance to make the first down, and away he goes. And he saw that sideline marker, and he was determined to get there. He got the necessary yardage to keep the drive alive for Edmonton. Heads-up play by Jerry Corrick.
That wasn't 3rd and 10. It was 3rd and 18. So when you think about running on a play like that, you'd better be sure you're going to make it. Gizmo Williams is tackled by Rodney Harding, who smelled out the reverse. And it's a great first half for the big Argo tackle, Rodney Harding.
He's an impressive football player. I thought his best game this year was played out on the West Coast, but he is really dominating this afternoon. And he came right through. He read that play all the way. He didn't lose it. He kept outside containment. And again, showing good speed for a big man, stopping the little Gizmo for a big loss.
Loss back to the 37. Harding getting set to go again. They try to hold the rush with the fake, and they do that and hit Marco Sincar at midfield. He is 1.5 yards short of the first down there.
This is where the Eskimos are so ever dangerous in second down, obvious passing situation. You have a quarterback with the ability of a Tracy Ham, and the play to call is a sprint out, because then he has that option. He can look upfield. If everybody drops off, he runs the football. If they come up to make the tackle on him, he just looks downfield. Sincar had released out in the right flat. A very easy reception, well executed by Tracy Ham.
Let's see how the Argos adjust now to Jerry Corrick's interest in running with the ball if they back off. It's only 1.5 yards they're down, so they can't afford to give Corrick any room here. And they don't, and he punts the ball end over end away from Pernell Moore, and it bounces back up the middle on him, and is going to go right through the end zone for a single point. The Edmonton Eskimos break the tie, take the lead on a bouncing punt single by Jerry Corrick that goes for 75 yards. Just a touch of concern for Joe Farragalli. He is leading, but by just 1 point, and the Argos are moving the ball well in this series.
This is where Toronto has to show the finish now. They did this last week. They were able to move the yardsticks from the 30s to the 30s, but they couldn't convert.
Kennedy trying to break a tackle. He carries the tackler instead to the 15-yard line for a gain of 4 yards.
I thought Toronto would do more of this with Fennerty this week, and that's running between the tackles. When you have a defense like the Eskimos who have such great quickness from sideline to sideline, you're probably going to have better success if you go with quick traps and run right at those linebackers. And that's what the Argos tried to do on that play.
2.5 minutes left in the second quarter on 2nd down and 6 from the Edmonton 15. Renfro outside. Fennerty with the catch. There's a flag down. Fennerty out of bounds at the 8-yard line. And let's check the penalty.
Well, it's in that. It's almost 99% of the time holding against the offensive unit, and that's the call.
Penalties hurt the Argos last week, and this could prove to be a penalty that takes some points away from the Argonauts. They were first and goal had the play stood.
Number 63. 2nd down repeated.
And now they're going to be 2nd down and 16.
Kardash is the Argo player called for holding. Is Gil Fennerty lined up in his I-back position, and on the snap of the ball, he just went into motion, and here we'll see the holding play just to the right here. Right there, Stuart Hill, and he is tough to block. Last week he had a big game with 2 quarterback sacks. You know, when you lose 38-21, there's always an area of your game that needs improvement. And the one area where the Argos really have to improve in this game to win is the blocking of their offensive backs. And on the previous play, when Renfro hits over the middle for the 1st down, I watched Fennerty, and he put a good block on Stuart Hill. You cannot finesse a guy like Hill. He has the power to run over you. He has the quickness and the strong hands to shed a blocker. You just have to gut it out, put your helmet right in there, and stay with him. Fennerty did that 2 previous plays, but Hill is a fine football player, and what a difference it's been since he's now come back to play with the Eskimos. It seems to have given the Edmonton team a big lift on defense, Dave.
Well, they haven't lost with Stuart Hill in the lineup. There's a problem with the clock now as they reset it to the correct time. It now reads 1 minute and 22 left in the first half. But that's not where it's supposed to be, because they're back at 15 minutes. It was at 1:22, and we understand that they're trying to get it to read 2:22.
You know, if you can get it out, unless it goes out of the ballpark. Okay. You can get it out. You catch it, start running. You can get
well,
it
the
out.
Argos now, this is a very big play for the offense. 2nd down, a passing situation. 2nd and 15, a lot of real estate. This is a key play right here for the Edmonton defense as well.
The fans know that. They urge on the offense of the Argonauts. Dwight Edwards is in the game for Paul Nastasiuk. Renfro again with lots of time. Moore, the intended receiver. The play broken up inside the Edmonton 5-yard line. Moore wonders why no flag.
Well, just outstanding defensive play by the secondary of the Eskimos. Parnell Moore had gone straight down inside the 5-yard line on a break-in. Look at the poise of Renfro, though. People at his feet and everything, and he guns this one. It was a little high, but Taylor played it perfectly as he went right up and pulled it out of the arms of Parnell Moore. So it looks like the Argos will have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Paul, the newcomer, is holding for Lance Chomick from 31 yards away for the lead. The Argos have not been in front today, and they won't be now.
Boy, I'll tell you, he almost mishit that one. He didn't get a lot into it. And that's normally just a chip shot for Chomick. But he misses the field goal as he pulls it left. Just hung up there in the air for the longest time. I guess he thought he just had to poop it over the uprights, but his accuracy was off, and we have an 8-8 tie.
Well, they were close for 3 quarters last week until the Eskimos pulled away with the 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. This game resembling last Sunday's in Edmonton in more ways than one. Ready. 2:10 to go as the clock is working. The Eskimos working from their 35. Short pass. This is Spolatini. Banging heads and getting no yardage.
Well, this is what football's all about. Once you catch the ball, you know that you're going to be hit. And if you're a defensive player, it's your responsibility to react to the ball and to the ball carrier. And Harding now, who's had a big game in this first half, being blocked pretty well. He finally gets around the blocker, and he's chasing the quarterback Ham. And he just tossed it out in the flat, but what a collision. And he felt that one. Spallettini. Tough little guy. He's not that little, though.
They've got running backs to take his place, but this is Marco Sincar on the bench, and he has been shaken up, and the Eskimos are already without one of their slot backs, Rick House, with a pinched nerve in his neck, and so they're down in terms of slot backs.
I never thought I'd see the day that Marco Sincar would cut his hair. Remember, it used to stick out the back of his helmet. Now he has one of those new looks that a lot of the young people have. Better too.
Holmes is the injured Argonaut as he leaves the field prior to the 2nd down and 10 play from the 35. So injured players on both sides.
Spallettini was right there, and so was Mr. Holmes, and they both were shook up on the play.
Ham going down, thought about throwing it, and then held on to the ball. So big difference in this game. The pressure from the Argo defense on Tracy Ham. The Edmonton Eskimos have not been able to say the same in going after Gilbert Renfro.
Well, today, when you look to see who's around the quarterback, it's number 77, Randy Harding. He's at the bottom, right around the ankles of Tracy Ham, and he should really get credited with that sack. And he got some help from his defensive end, Don Baldwin, who went to the University of Purdue and played with the New York Jets last year, playing his first game in an Argo uniform, and he is a pass rushing defensive end. He too was in on the play.
Well, if there's a star of the first half, it's Rodney Harding. There's not much doubt of that. Corrick awaits the snap. Ball bouncing. Pernell Moore will let it do that, especially if it goes in that direction. Now he steps out, stops the clock, which is a good idea with 1:25 to go. And the Argonauts will have the ball at their 49-yard line. Not much of a punt by Corrick. Didn't help the Eskimo cause because the Argonauts are in good shape with almost a minute and a half to go. Again, you see Renfro with time. There's a flag down at the end of that play. The Eskimos are applauding the call, meaning that they think it's holding, and that's exactly what Jake Ireland says it is.
Holding. Toronto number 66. First down repeated.
Well, that's one way to protect your passer. Obviously, you pay for it when you do it like that, so the Argos move back to the 39-yard line. But I think you'll agree, Tom, that the Eskimos have not been getting to Renfro, and that's got to change. Otherwise, the Argos keep an advantage in that very important area. They'll be rushing the passer this time, 1st and 20, but Renfro still gets time. Can't complete it to Pernell Moore. Stanley Blair is covering him. They really do want to throw the ball this way to Moore and Nastasiuk as opposed to Boyd and Smith on the other side. Clock stopped at minute 15 to go in the 2nd quarter, and that's what the Argos are looking at. 2nd down and 20. Again, the Eskimos rush with only 4 men and don't get close to Renfro. He finds Nastasiuk short of the 1st down, almost to midfield, but still 7 yards away from the necessary spot for the 1st down, and the Argonauts must punt with Hank Olisic at 1:07 on the clock.
Good drop by Danny Bass. Look at him pick up the backfield, the back out of the backfield, and he was right on him. And the Eskimos played it pretty safe, a very deep zone. They'll give you the stuff in front, hoping that they can come up and make the tackle, prevent the receiver from getting the 1st down, and they were successful at doing that.
Good punt by Olisic. Backs up Gizmo Williams to his 6-yard line. Gizmo probably could have had a shot at getting outside, though he had no blocking help at all. So he just went straight up the middle for what was there. And the time on the clock probably influenced his decision. The Eskimos will look to run out that clock, I would think, with 55 seconds left.
Good job, Dean.
It is not surprising when you look at special team results. The teams who have the best records in the league usually have the best special teams too. And the Argos doing a good job today of staying in their lanes, getting down and converging in on the Gizmo. He had that one nice return, but it was negated because of the clip.
The Eskimos do keep the ball on the ground with Chris Skinner. He fights his way near the 20-yard line.
Well, there's not much deception in this play. This is just your big fullback or runner off tackle as he takes one step to his left, gets the handoff, now cuts back to the right, looking for a little opening in the line between guard and tackle. He managed to pick up about 7 yards on the play. You'll take that every time you can get it.
Ham is going to throw and throw it deep. Slater Zaleski in the game for the injured Marco Sincar has it go incomplete, and that'll stop the clock. 27 seconds left. The Argos will get their hands on the ball once more.
That was a nice looking pass pattern executed by Zaleski as he ran a Z out pattern. He goes downfield about 10 yards, plants on his left foot, drives to the middle for 2 steps, and then back to the outside. But Pleasant read it all the way as he stayed with Zaleski, and it was just a long, incompleted pass.
Corrick, a line drive punt, not with the height that he wanted, but he got a good bounce. Moore back at his 40-yard line. That'll do it. The Argonauts had visions of having the ball in Edmonton territory with time for a few plays. Now they're way back at their 37-yard line.
That's the second time that Purnell Moore has misjudged a punt. Had he come up and made the catch on the run, he would have picked up a lot of valuable yardage. And look at Corrick. He was really roughed up, but no penalty. And he's holding his left ankle. Of course, these kickers now look at him. He's got lots of bounce. They really can put on an act. But it did not draw the flag from the official. Like soccer players, they roll around like they're dying.
Well, the Argos not being fancy with a few seconds left, but Fennerty is always dangerous. He runs to the 50-yard line with 11 seconds to go. Argos could still call timeout.
Fennerty's having a pretty good afternoon now. He hasn't made many long runs, but he's picking up the 6 and 7 and 9 yards. And you add that up at the end of the game, and you'll see he'll have pretty good totals.
Don't understand that play.
No.
Fennerty hit by Larry Ruck. 4 seconds left. Argos have another shot at
timeout.
A long play. Now they call their timeout. Here we've got as close a game as you could ask for after 30 minutes of football. This game, if they've done all they could have done in the first 3 quarters, I think they have to be thinking the same way. They've had the edge in the first half, and yet it doesn't show on the scoreboard.
Well, you know, Edmonton is tough. They're a very experienced football team. They know when to dig in when they have to and come up with that good second effort to maybe stop a drive. But you're right. I think Bob Obilovich probably told his players, he said, hey, we're moving the football. We can have some success against the Eskimos. We just have to execute a little bit better, give the quarterback some good protection, which they did in the first half, and they could have some results. On the other hand, I think the Eskimos, Joe Faragelli's probably the thing, although I think the offense of Edmonton has been held intact pretty well today.
Certainly Tracy Ham has not run the ball, and with the exception of the big play to Gizmo Williams, has not had much success throwing the ball either. And one reason for that is that the pass protection afforded him by the Eskimo offensive line hasn't been as good as Gilbert Renfro has received for the Argos. Jerry Corrick was limping near the end of the first half. He is set to kick off the ball to start the second half. Just a bit of a delay as they hand out some awards for punt, pass, and kick championships.
Did you ever enter a contest like that when you were a kid?
Well, entering is one thing, and being there for the trophies is another. Tracy Ham is trying to win his own passing contest against Gilbert Renfro today. As we're now for the third quarter of play. Will the two streaks continue, the Edmonton winning streak and the Argo losing streak, or will they both be halted? We'll find out in the next 30 minutes of football, or perhaps more should overtime be required. And the way these teams have played even Steven last week for 3 quarters and here today for 2 quarters, I don't suppose we should rule out a tie. Corrick, as you can see, doesn't kick it off as long as Olisic does. Moore hit by the first man down for the Eskimos, and that's Brian Walling, ex-Argonaut, stopping Pernell Moore just ahead of his 35-yard line.
Well, when you're a second-team player, you make the big team if you can play special teams, and Walling demonstrated right there he's an excellent special teams player for the Eskimos. Came down full speed and made a tackle in the open field just the way you draw it up on the blackboard.
Slight edge for Gilbert Renfro. More completions for a few more yards. Tracy Ham, of course, got 85 of his yards in one play to Gizmo Williams. Renfro is back. Eskimos came a little closer to him and almost had an interception to show for it. Danny Taylor juggling the ball. There was a flag down, and I think they hit Renfro late, did they?
Well, it's either holding or rough play. I kind of think it's holding. No, roughing the passer. Good call.
Coin has a head and it has a tail. And the penalty is against Edmonton for hitting late the quarterback, Gilbert Renfro, and that moves the ball way up to the 52-yard line. Fennerty, and the toaster takes him down for a loss of a couple of yards. I don't see Darryl Smith in the Argo offense. He was shaken up in the first half, and that would be a big loss, though they have not been throwing the ball too much to Smith today anyway. But Dwight Edwards is in the game and not Darryl Smith.
Stuart Hill lines up. He doesn't get down in a three-point stance. He likes to be a rushing end that just stands up and comes in. And Toaster, the defensive tackle, came down the line very well. Just overpowered his man and made the stop.
Again, more pressure, but Renfro still completes the pass. He is short of the first down to Jeff Boyd, but not by very much. It's going to be 3rd down and a yard.
I'm really impressed with Gilbert Renfro. I know there's been some quarterback controversy down here in Toronto, whether it should be Conjemi or even Danny Barrett, but this guy is tall. He's the classic type of quarter, good vision of the field, and he has a very strong arm. And those kind of quarterbacks, if you give him good protection and he's on and he's hitting his receivers pinpoint, he's difficult to stop. And Renfro is playing with a lot of confidence, and I think he's delivering the football much better this week than he did last week in Edmonton, even though he threw for over 300 yards last week.
3rd and 1, and here comes the Argo gamble from the Edmonton 48. 3 backs lining up behind Renfro. And the 3rd one, Fennerty gets the call and the first down. Not easily, but Joe Fennerty has moved the yardsticks.
You know, Fennerty, he's always looking to make the big play. He came out of the I-back position and he just starts to his right. He thought he could sneak to the outside. If he breaks a tackle, he had a chance to maybe go all the way. Then he could see that he was going to be converged on by two Eskimo defenders. He very wisely just lowered his shoulder and picked up the necessary yardage for the first down.
From the 46, it is first down. Renfro for Boyd, and Benjamin tried to break it up, but Boyd, lying on the ground, saw the ball come right down into his arms. He gets up limping, but he gets up after making a big catch on an Argo first down.
And how do you criticize the cornerback, Benjamin? I mean, he was just stride for stride. He was only a half a yard between himself and the receiver, just the way you want to be. But look at the touch by Renfro. He just laid it up there. Nice soft pass. Benjamin is there to go up and fight for the ball, but look at the concentration of Boyd. He stayed with it right to the end and made a big reception. This is a big play.
For a first down to the 18. Play action, Renfro to the end zone, and he rifled that one in Dwight Edwards' direction. Not much of a chance for Edwards to catch that.
But we have a report, injury situation about Darrell Smith, who had his greatest game as a pro last week against these Eskimos. He's been knocked out of the ball game with a sore shoulder. He is not expected to see any action here in the second half. That's why we see 35-year-old Dwight Edwards.
Bob Obilovich looks on, second down Argos from the Edmonton 18. Here comes an Edmonton blitz. Argos picked it up pretty well. There's a flag down as the pass is thrown incomplete to the end zone. Let's check the penalty. The Eskimos indicate holding against the Argos is the call, and that's exactly what it is.
And Bob Obilovich very anxious to see what the call was as well. Again, the Argos getting inside the Eskimo territory, holding against Toronto will pick up the call. It's declined by the Eskimos as it was an incompleted pass, and that puts Toronto into a third down situation, and they send on their field goal team.
Tomic had a chance in the second quarter to put the Argos in front with a 31-yard field goal. He missed it. This is going to be even shorter, and he should not miss another one.
Very frustrating for a football team, Dave, when you get down there and you just can't get that ball in the end zone.
25-yard attempt by Tomic for the first Argo lead of the day. He's got this one. And the Toronto Argonauts, with those 3 points, go up 11-8. Ham throwing it deep for Sandusky, and it's broken up. Selwyn Drain over there to help Terry Noble on the corner, and Jim Sandusky had no chance at that.
I talked about the toughness of Edmonton secondary and how they'll come up and really put a sock on a receiver. Toronto has great team speed on defense, particularly in their second. Very quick. Look at the quickness here. As Drain just jumps up right at the top point and knocks the ball away. Had Sandusky caught that one, he was long gone.
He thought he was going to catch it too.
He did.
Corrick was 5-yard line. End over end. The Argos don't want to let it bounce, and Moore doesn't. He's got some blocking help. Pernell Moore at the 46-yard line, taken down there. A good play by Pierre Vercheval, and the Argos, with the lead, try to add to it from Edmonton's 46.
Both of these teams, I think, are doing a good job on special teams today. For a moment, every time either the Gizmo or Moore get the ball, it looks like they're going to make a big return. But both teams are staying in their lanes. They're containing the return guys, and they're not breaking the long run like a lot of people came to this ballpark looking to see. Just not happening. I should say hoping to see.
Renfro calling Dwight Edwards to the other side. Now gets this play underway. Nastasia calls it in at the 30. That's an Argo first down.
There's a lot of players in the league like Paul Nastasiak, good Canadian backup receivers and running backs, and they work very hard during the week to get ready to play a football game. They never know when their number is going to be called, and this week Bob Obilovich says, Nastasiak, you're going to be our starting slot back, and he's performed very well.
Very much a part of the game plan too, it seems, as they have thrown 4 passes that he has caught and a few that he was close to catching. So Nastasiak has been a favorite of Renfro's, you might say. Boyd has this one. Jeff Boyd in front of Clifford Toney, and it's first and goal.
It's the ball in the crowd. All the good ones can do that, and Jeff Boyd certainly did on that occasion, but the play worked because of the offensive pass protection provided by the Argos for their quarterback, Gilbert Renfro. He was able to stand right there in the pocket and then just lay it right down in the post pattern. Boyd jumped high in the air, and he was in front of Benjamin and made the reception. That was a great catch in a crowd, and a crucial catch, as now the Argos are knocking on the door. They should be able to convert this one, Dave.
3 cracks from a yard out. 3 backs to help Renfro if he wants to help. Finnerty gets the call and the touchdown.
Nobody has a better nose for the end zone than Gil the Thrill. That's his 12th touchdown of 1988, his 10th on the ground, and he just loves to get the ball when they're inside the 10. And he's one of those backs seems to know how to wiggle and squirm and get his way into the end zone, although that one was just from the 1. It didn't take a whole lot of finesse to do that, but it was a big touchdown for the Argos as they jump in front now, 17-8.
Again, a catch by Jeff Boyd helps the Argos score points, and they now have 18 of those points to lead by 10. Again, the Eskimos looking in a blitz formation. That's a loose ball. The Eskimos can run with it. First, they'd like to recover it, and that they do. Gary Columbus, it's a turnover, and the Edmonton Eskimos down 10. That margin being increased with a field goal, if nothing else, for the Argos. Now have the ball, and it's still Toronto by 10.
Well, Columbus made the recovery, but Mike McLean, the outside linebacker, came in untouched as they were on the blitz, and he really put a hit on Renfro. Renfro was just starting to deliver a pass, and it was clearly a fumble all the way. And again, as I said earlier, Dave, the Eskimo defense has a way of keeping their team in the game and giving the offense a chance to maybe catch fire and win it.
Well, they tried this play before and it worked. Gizmo Williams will pick up the first down, not the touchdown, but the Eskimos do need first downs. They haven't had too many of them lately.
That's a good call, too. What the Eskimos need to do now is sustain and pick up 2, 3, 4 first downs, get the offense feeling confident about themselves again. Just an out pattern to the Gizmo, and you hope when you throw it out there, he can beat that last cornerback and break it for a long one. That time, Pleasant played it perfectly out of bounds.
Wide open for Tracy Ham is Chris Skinner. He steps out of bounds. Looks like another Edmonton first down at the Argo 51.
And the Eskimos are starting to spread out that Argo defense right now. They're sending their backs that are releasing out of the backfield very wide to the sideline. The slot backs are going up the field, and this gives Ham a little better view of what's going on to pick up that open receiver.
When he gets going, Tracy Ham, things can happen for Edmonton.
When he gets a hot hand, there's nobody better.
Again, they throw the flat pass to Skinner. Reggie Pleasant isn't letting him run this time. He's down after little or no gain. They might say it's a yard to the 50.
Well, I've always said that cornerbacks in particular, they have to be fast, they have to have agility, they have to play with intelligence, also have to be tough and courageous because they have to come up and stop the run. And a play like that on a pass where you have to come up and put a tackle on a big back, Pleasant did it very well.
Here comes the rush. Ham runs away from it. Will he continue to run?
You bet.
He knows where the first down is, and he's got that. Pays for it with a hit inside the 30, but Tracy Ham got outside, and once he did, there was nobody downfield that was going to help the Argo defense on that play.
Well, and the Argos have to be upset with themselves, too. They had 3 players out there for the outside containment. He's driven out by the middle linebacker, Holmes, but he has such great quickness, and once he gets to the outside, there was no linebacker there to come up and force the play. Finally, the defensive back and Delory, the safety, and Willie Pless, they all hustled down, but it was far too late as Ham picked up big yardage for the first down.
And Sharper getting away from the rush on that play, too. And that's his best drive far. He hands the ball to Spallettini. Still on his feet, but he's not going anywhere.
The middle linebacker came in and filled very well on the play to hold that to a short yardage gain.
So the Eskimos are down by 10, but they have a chance to score when the fourth quarter begins momentarily. The schedule, and the Eskimos were not supposed to play the Argos in July, so this must indeed be late September. Gorgeous afternoon in Toronto, and the Argo fans like it so far as well. Here's a big second down play for the Eskimos. The Argos putting the heat on Tracy Ham. He throws, the ball is caught, and it's a first down to Tom Richards.
He's a big play guy. I've seen Richards make many receptions like that in the last few years for the Eskimos. Good pressure by the Argos on Tracy Ham. He tried to sprint out to his right. He stopped, looked, saw Richards on the curl. Pass was a little bit low, but Richards with good concentration and knowing that his team needs to finish off this drive. They want to get back in the game, made the catch.
Rick House watching in Edmonton. Marco Sincar watching from the sidelines. So Tom Richards, the only regular slot back who is healthy right now for the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, we have to look back to that big play by the linebacker McLean when he hit Renfro on the previous series. That seems to have given the Eskimos new life. It's really their best offensive drive they've had in quite a while, and they're starting to move it down the field. And remember, football game is 60 minutes, and the Eskimos just owned the fourth quarter last week in Edmonton.
They'll need a big fourth quarter to win this game. From the 15-yard line, Ham throws it up. Williams is knocked down, and an interference call to be made. Gizmo was just about set to jump in the air, which he likes to do when the ball is coming his way, and he was over.
Well, I think this is a good call by the officials, too. He waited to make sure. Watch Gizmo now. It's just a streak pattern to the corner. He looks back for the football, but there's where you see Pleasant. He kind of gets caught up in his feet. He grabbed the Gizmo. He had not looked back to the quarterback. Interference all the way. Good call by the official. That'll put the ball on the Argo 1-yard line.
And Reggie Pleasant does more than commit the penalty. He hurts himself.
Well, I think he twisted his ankle. You could see that he hit his other leg and he started to fall down. That's when he grabbed Williams, and he's holding his right ankle. Again, Tracy Ham, straight drop back, just a streak pattern, lays it up in the corner. Now watch right here is where he gets caught up, turns his ankle falling down. The official right on top of the play.
The Argos without their starting corner on the other side, Carl Brazeley, today, and now it looks as though Pleasant is going to miss some action.
Well, we'll have to see. At least play anyway. They have Ed Berry, who's their designated import. He's a graduate of Utah State, drafted in the 8th round by the Green Bay Packers. Was a late cut of the San Francisco 49ers. I know the Argos think a lot of him, and he quite likely will come into the ball game. Whether he shifts to the corner or not, we'll have to wait and see. They might put Major out there. But right now, that's where Barry's lining up.
So the Argos had first and goal from the 1 to score in the third quarter with Gil Fennerty. Tracy Ham over to check what Joe Faragalli wants on first and goal from the 1-yard line for the Eskimos. And of course, a touchdown puts Edmonton right back in the game within 3 if they make the 1-point convert. Tracy Ham is suddenly finding the range of his passes. He's 5 of 6 in the second half. Will Ham keep it, or will he hand it off? Tracy himself doesn't look like
he's not in.
Made the touchdown on first down, and they'll put the ball right back at the 1-yard line, and they'll try again. He thinks he was in.
Well, one of my favorite football expressions, Dave, is when teams get down inside that 10-yard line. You know, I call it the zone of intense resistance, because that's exactly what it is. He gets a rough ride here. Look at the Argos. They just pile in there high so that he couldn't jump over his offensive lineman. And they actually prevented him from getting and breaking the plane of the goal line. So it goes back to the 1-yard line. Their second crack at it.
Three men to hand it to if he wants to do that. And they're in. The Edmonton Eskimos trail by 4 with a convert by Jerry Corrick coming up.
Tony Spallettini, as he just bowled his way into the end zone, and that was a good call, I think, by Ham. He tried it initially on back sneak. He said, hey, this is a little too rough for a quarterback. I'm going to give it to my big bruising running back. Spallettini as he was met right at the line of scrimmage, but he had enough momentum to carry himself into the end zone. And that's a big touchdown for the Eskimos, and they're back in this one.
All started by the hit on Renfro by Mike McLean, the fumble recovery by Gary Columbus. The Argos were looking at a field goal try at least on that drive, and they didn't get to try the field goal or score the touchdown. Instead, the Eskimos marched down the field. They get 7 points. The Edmonton Eskimos within 3 points, 12:42 left in the fourth quarter as Jerry Corrick sets to kick off. Dwight Edwards from his 20-yard line is at the 40. Edwards to the 42, maybe the 43-yard line. Tony Spallettini has scored the touchdown that the Eskimos needed to get back in this game.
Well, we take another look at it. There's not a whole lot to describe. It's just power running down there at the goal line, and Spallettini, as we said, had enough head of steam to bull his way into the end zone. He's averaging 3, but he only needed to make 1 for the TD, and he did.
Argos at their 46-yard line with a 3-point lead. More than 12 minutes remaining. Renfro throws an interception. It's a foot race, and if Tony wins it, he's got a touchdown. Edmonton Eskimos lead.
How many times over the years have we seen this great football team, the Edmonton Eskimos? What a great story they've been. They have a tremendous winning tradition. They never give up in a football game. And again, they start to come on. They seem to own the fourth quarter. 2 big defensive plays. The first by Mike McLean that really allowed the offense to get something going, to get their last touchdown in their last possession. And now Cliff Toney with his 4th interception of 1988. And that's the second one, Dave, for a touchdown this year. But this was a big one.
When Renfro cocked his arm, Tony knew what could happen, and you could see it from here. Opportunism on defense for the Edmonton Eskimos has taken them from a 10-point deficit into a 4-point lead.
Has to be very frustrating, too, I think, for the Argo team and the Argo coaches. They've lost 3 in a row. They were playing a very smart football game, I thought, here today, Dave, and then all of a sudden they seem to lose it a little bit, but you have to give the Eskimos most of the credit because they changed and shifted the momentum of this game. And it was big plays by their defense that allowed the Eskimos not only to get back in the game, but now to enjoy the 4-point lead that they have, 22-18.
Well, we saw it last week. The Eskimos won the game in the fourth quarter, and here they have touchdowns to recapture the lead in this game.
You know, Dave, I hope the day comes that all 8 CFL teams build their organization to be as bright and as efficient as the Eskimos have been over the years. We wouldn't have any problems then in the CFL, I can tell you that.
Again, Dwight Edwards returns a Jerry Corrick kickoff. Had to worry about holding on to the football there as he got a good hit from Brian Walling, who has been prominent in this respect today.
He's been an outstanding special teams player, and again, he got right down there and made that stop. It's very difficult when you're coming down, you're running 50 yards at full speed. You must come under control when you get down to where you have a chance to make the tackle, and that's the second nice open field tackle that Walling has made on special teams today.
Renfro throws a swing pass to Fennerty into Edmonton territory. He's at the 46-yard line.
Well, if you want to get back in a football game, you go with your best. And Gil Fennerty is the best for the Argos. He is so talented, has great hands. He can beat you with the run or with the pass. And that time he took a nice screen out in the left flat to the short side. Got some good blockers in front of him. But that's when he does his thing, as he started to cut it back. That was a big gain for the Argos and a big play that they needed right then.
How important that they answer this Edmonton surge with one of their own. Renfro picks out a receiver. Stanley Blair will take him down. That's Pernell Moore.
Well, you have to be patient when you're going against a zone defense, and that's what the Eskimos were in there. And Pernell Moore read it perfectly. He drove his defensive back, then came right back to the football on a nice curl pattern. Renfro put it right in the soft spot of the zone, another first down. And Renfro would dearly like to take the Argos down the field, because that was a terrible he made on his last possession, that interception to Tony. He'd like to have had that one back.
Brett Williams, the injured Eskimo. Joe Farragalli hoping the Eskimos can hold this lead, win their 5th straight game, and stay alone in first place in the West. Should they lose today and Saskatchewan beats Hamilton, there's a first place tie in the West.
I'm not surprised that this game is going right down to the end. It's entertaining. Who will ever forget that Grey Cup Classic that these two teams put on last year at BC Place in Vancouver? I've been up here now, Dave, for 26 years, and that was the most exciting football game that I ever had the pleasure of watching in the CFL. It was just great, and pressure kicked by Jerry Corrick, 49-yard field goal to win it for Edmonton. And these two teams are going head-to-head here again today, and it's been good entertainment, I think, too.
Not much to choose between the two if you look back at the last 2 games they have played, and at this one. From the Edmonton 34, all-out blitz, flag down. Renfro throws it. Smith is back in the game with a touchdown catch. What about the penalty flag? Did the Eskimos come too soon on that blitz?
I can't see the penalty flag. Oh, there it is, right over here by the 30-yard line.
They did
Offside.
jump offside, and Darrell Smith re-enters the game with an Argo touchdown.
You're going to see here what maximum protection is for a quarterback. The offensive line in nice cup protection. He kept both backs in, the fullback Holmes and Finnerty. Watch this now. Edmonton coming with the safety blitz. 20 Wilson had come up, and the quarterback read it perfectly. Somebody had to be open one-on-one. Darrell Smith, who, as Dave said, wasn't expected to come back and play in the second half. He hurt his shoulder, made an over-the-shoulder catch, and the Argos are back in the lead. Took a while for this game to get going, but I'll tell you, they're playing some kind of football right now.
It's an over-the-injury catch then for Darrell Smith. And the Argos are back in front by 3 points with Lance Chummick's field goal. The Argos with the ball at the Edmonton 50-yard line, trying to increase a 3-point lead. The Edmonton defense has been largely responsible for getting the Eskimos back into the game, into the lead briefly. Let's see what the Edmonton defense does against Gilbert Renfro, who's thrown for close to 400 yards today. They will try a reverse to Pernell Moore. Only one Eskimo is there. 3 Argos to block him. They get him. And Moore is inside the 40, out at the 37-yard line.
What a great block by Randy Ambrosi. As he was out there, and in order for Moore to turn the corner on that reverse, he had to cut down Stuart Hill. And he did just that. That was a well-executed misdirection play. And we expected the Argos to do quite a bit of this today. As Moore now starts to run, he needs the block. You'll see he'll get cut down by Ambrosi right there, and that allowed him to turn up the corner and make some big yardage.
Renfro with time to change his mind. He doesn't have a receiver where he threw the ball, though.
Oh, he just threw that away, Dave. That was a smart call by the, smart reaction, I think, by the quarterback. He was almost sacked, and he knew he was feeling pressure. His receivers were all covered. Rather than take the big loss with the sack, he just threw the ball away deep in the end zone.
Renfro took a hit at the end of that play, as you see there. He is limping as he gets up. The Edmonton Eskimo doesn't get up yet. I think the Argos really want a touchdown. Obviously, that should be obvious, but and go without saying. But a field goal would put them up by 6. However, that still leaves the Eskimos very much in the game. If the Argos can regain the 10-point lead with a touchdown here, 8 minutes to go, I think they would feel a lot better about things. Renfro to Boyd. He's got it.
Boyd has been very productive today. He did not have a particularly strong game, I didn't think, against the Eskimos at Commonwealth Stadium, but he's made 2 or 3 very big plays this afternoon, and that was another one where a very experienced wide receiver knows down and distance and ran his route, got upfield, got the necessary yardage, and Renfro put it right on the money. And I think that pass took Renfro over 400 yards in passing today, Dave. He's having a big afternoon.
Renfro under a rush over the middle of Hudson. And Warren Hudson is going to the end zone.
What a great call. His center screen to the fullback. He hasn't touched the ball that much today, but when he has, he's done something with it. That's the second time Holmes has been the receiver of a pass from Renfro, and he's done something with it. Danny Bass coming on the blitz. That left the middle wide open. He really didn't get that. There, good block there on the safety by Boyd. Boyd hit Wilson. That enabled Hudson to get ahead of steam and to bull his way into the end zone. And that just might be the one that gets this Argo team out of their 3-game losing streak.
2 touchdowns for the Eskimos, downs for the Argos, and Toronto is back to the 10-point lead that it had after 3 quarters of play. Now with 7:25 to go in the 4th quarter, the Argos lead 32-22, and Renfro, after that little nudge and injured ankle he took a couple of plays earlier, gets some treatment. But Warren Hudson gets the touchdown, scored last week and again this week. Warren Hudson gets into the end zone for the Argonauts.
Well, I know he's very pleased to certainly make a contribution at any time. He had a difficult time last week, particularly his blocking was not up to snuff. He's improved on that today, as we've shown you from time to time. And now he catches a big pass.
And Gizmo Williams is buried under a pile of Toronto Argonauts to celebrate that fact and their 10-point lead.
Well, the Eskimos are almost forced to go into their bag of tricks right now as they try to go with the reverse on the ensuing kickoff.
First down for the Eskimos on their own 23.
Well, they went with the reverse, but the Argos, who have played great special teams today, stayed in their lanes, and they were not fooled by it.
Now with 7 minutes to go, real pressure on Tracy Ham and the Edmonton offense. Once again, down by 10. Zaleski over the middle. The Argonauts jump on him after Slater Zaleski's first down catch. He's an Edmonton Wildcat junior, formerly.
That's a go from the juniors to the pros, but the Eskimos are very high on this youngster, 5'11", 180 pounds, only 22 years old, and he's getting some game action at a time when the Eskimos need to move the football. And you talked about showing the kid some confidence in his play. That's it.
And stumbles, now regains his footing and throws an incompletion. Good hitting in that Argo secondary. Delorier breaking up that pass.
Lauren. Well, Tracy Ham did stumble too. Maybe his concentration is off a little bit, Dave. As you pointed out earlier, that pass rush has been harassing him all afternoon. He really didn't follow through with that pass like he normally does.
Second down from the 35. Here come the Argos in a blitz. Ham reads it, throws past it. Short of a first down, however, to Tom Richards. And now what does Joe Farragelli want to do?
Just another quick look from Richards, and look at the defensive coverage, just perfect, and yet they were able to make the completion as Richards just reached out his hands, and he's got a good set of hands too. This guy doesn't drop very many.
They are gambling, and they do not put the third down yardage big men in there. So Tracy Ham is on his own as to what play to call. He's got about a yard and a half to go for a first down. The Eskimos are in trouble if they don't make it. They run straight ahead and do on second effort make the first down. And it looked as though the Eskimos were stopped short. But Chris Johnstone's first carry back in the lineup this week from the injured list, keeps the Eskimos with the ball.
And it was a great second effort, too, by Johnstone. He was met right at the line of scrimmage. I thought he was going to be stuffed and they were going to be short of the first down, but he kept his legs moving. He's a big, strong guy, and he picked up the first down.
Just ahead of the 45-yard line. The Eskimos down by 10 with 5 minutes to go. Fumbles the football. Regains it, but suffers a big loss. As once again, that Argo rush, Don Baldwin, the newcomer from Purdue University and the New York Jets, does it there.
Well, you know, he's played a pretty good football game this afternoon, but Harding has had one of those games that defensive linemen think about, so we've been talking about him most of the time. But Baldwin was able to get through, and he had a nice move on his blocker right at the line of scrimmage. He's a strong guy, and the scouting report on him is he loves to rush the passer.
They all do today. Tracy Ham has really been the victim of a strong Argo pass rush. He'll come again. Ham's got to get some yards in second down. He won't get any. He'll lose yards. Baldwin was there again. Without even looking, I'm going to say Rodney Harding was there.
Well, he was, but it was Hallman who got his first sack as a Toronto Argonaut. Harold Hallman, who came into the CFL just 2 years ago out of Auburn. A stocky lineman with tremendous speed, and boy, I'll tell you, did he ever take the CFL by storm in Calgary with that 19 quarterback sacks. He was selected the Rookie of the Year, and that was his biggest play in an Argo uniform.
The first man Joe Farragalli wanted to talk to on the sidelines, Jim Sandusky, and they are still in conversation as Pernell Moore outraces Brian Walling to the sidelines. Moore goes out of bounds, and here again, the Argos start from Edmonton territory. That is a big help. 4 minutes left. The Argos have a 10-point lead that they'll try to protect, and in large part, that's the story of this game. The Toronto Argonauts pressure on Tracy Ham, the lack of Eskimo pressure on Gilbert Renfro.
And of that total, Ole Harding has got 5 of those 7 quarterback sacks. And if he is not the CFL Defensive Lineman of the Week, I'd like to see the kind of game the guy that beats him out has, because he's really had a phenomenal game for a defensive tackle today.
Fennerty, and you want to see Fennerty's moves. You just saw one of them there. So unfortunately for them, did the Eskimos. All they did was look at it.
Fennerty was held to only 33 yards last week in Edmonton, but they haven't been able to contain him today. Just a quick toss play to the left. Watch him make a cut here now, right there, as he just dekes out Wilson, the safety, and that's what Fennerty does so well. He has that uncanny ability to make the move right at the right time to get by a defender. He is an exciting back to watch play this game of football. He's a good one.
He has scored today, has contributed more to the offense, and continues to do so. With thrills from Gill, the Argonauts move the football and make their 10-point lead look relatively safe with 3 minutes to go.
That's what you want to do. When you have a lead of 10 points, you want to be able to run the football and run off those precious seconds off the clock. Ball control is what the Argos are looking for right now.
Farragalli thinking again about the last time he won at Exhibition Stadium in the regular season, 1981. It looks as though that date is going to remain in his mind and not be erased today. The Argonauts leading by 10 and marching for more. First down from the Edmonton 22. Fennerty is Renfro's favorite. Now he fumbles the ball out of bounds. No danger or damage, so the Argonauts will be second down again from the 22-yard line. Eskimos showing blitz. They try to run past it with Fennerty diving for a couple of yards, and it'll be a field goal try by Lance Chomick to add to the Toronto margin.
Well, the Argos never put the ball up in the air once that time. They just kept it on the ground, calling number 6, Gil the Thrill Fennerty, and he did what he's paid a very good salary to do, and that's to pick up first downs and some good yardage. Gets the ball down close enough for Chomick to attempt a field goal. The Argos up by 10 with only 2:26 remaining. This very well could seal a Toronto victory and break that 3-game losing streak. And what better way to do it than against the Edmonton Eskimos, the team in last year's Grey Cup.
27-yard field goal attempt by Lance Chomig. If it's good, the Eskimos need 2 touchdowns in about 2 minutes to win. Chomig's field goal is indeed good. The Argos now lead at 35-22. Eskimos won last week by 17, and the Argos lead right now by 13. So that's tit for tat.
Well, Bob Obilovich has to be very pleased with the effort that his team has put forth here this afternoon. I think there was good effort put forth by the Eskimos too, but I just think Toronto just executed a little bit better. There were a lot of big plays made in this football game by both teams. Long touchdown passes, outstanding defensive plays.
The Eskimos need big plays quickly. Ham throws it way over the head of Gizmo Williams. He just isn't certain when he's setting up the pass what to do. The only thing he's been certain about is that there'll be Argos rushing him and putting him on his back. Offensively, in the second half of play, the game was tied at the end of the first half, remember. The Eskimos have moved the ball 30 yards and the Argos 265.
Well, they've almost reversed the stats of last week. It was the Eskimos who owned the second half, and here today it's been Toronto, the double blue.
Ham knows what he wants to do this time, but Tom Richards can't get there. There were 2 Argo defenders if he had been near the ball. Doran Major and Lou Delorier covering the only remaining healthy Edmonton slot back, Tom Richards.
Well, that was a Hail Mary, but they'll need 2 or 3 rosaries to pull this one out because the Argos are in full control now. They'll get the football back with 1 minute and 56 seconds remaining, leading 35-22. Joe Farraghelli, who always does a good job getting his team ready to play, came into this game on a 4-game winning streak, the best record in the CFL.
You see Jerry Korick, with the help of a 75-yard single, has averaged 41.5 yards per punt. He was in a groove a few weeks ago, but he's not in it right now. The bounces, though, have helped the average considerably for Korick, and do again. Pernell Moore making sure he holds the ball back inside his 20-yard line. 1:44 to go. The Argos will do the same, just try to hold on to the ball now and take this win and end their losing streak.
Yeah, they're just going to run the football. Again, it'll be Fennerty quite likely. Maybe Holmes the odd time, but 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You don't want to do anything here that would give the Eskimos a chance to get back in this football game, and that means you call the running plays.
Hudson and Fench have scored a touchdown in this game. Fennerty that time with 1:39 to go. The Toronto Argonauts travel next week to the west and meet the Calgary Stampeders, a team on the rise in the west. So that is an interesting matchup, and you'll see that on the Canadian Football Network. The Eskimos go home to play Ottawa, and I guess the Eskimos' danger is that they will think a little bit too much about this loss and not nearly enough about playing the CFL's last place team. I guess Ottawa hopes that. Good collision right at the line of scrimmage. Who's got the football? Argos recover, and Bob Obilovich can breathe easily. Fennerty, he's just interested onto the ball in this final minute of play. The Argonauts set to get their 8th victory of the season and halt a losing streak at 3 games. It'll be the 4th loss for Edmonton, and it's worth noting, I suppose, that the Eskimos are 6-0 as a home team and are about to become 2-4 as a road team. So Commonwealth Stadium very definitely part of Edmonton's success.
Toronto number 63. Second down.
Illegal procedure called against the Argos.
Well, you wouldn't want to come to Exhibition Stadium and not see the Argo bounce. Late in the game, Gil Fennerty puts it on the ground and says, come right back here.
Well, not many bounces went their way last week at Commonwealth Stadium, but they certainly have today. Argos called for too much time as they elect to let the clock run down to 9 seconds.
Violation. Toronto number 8. Third down.
Everybody knows who wins, and it's just a matter of getting the clock to read zeros. Gizmo's going to have one more chance. And here it is. No more success that he's had all day long, and the Argonauts end it the way they helped themselves to a victory with good, solid play underneath punch, and particularly on defense, rushing the quarterback. The Argos win 35-22.